Hello everyone, Clyde the Geek here, and welcome to my big ranking video of every single film that I watched in 2022 from worst to best, all, in this case, all 136 films I watched. I want to get this intro done and dusted so we can get to all the films, but first of all, it is just my opinion. Second, if you want any more in-depth thoughts, you can check out my written reviews for these on Letterboxd. Let's get to it now. 136, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. I've stopped with these crappy horror sequels. This film is nothing. 135, Jaws, The Revenge, an absolute embarrassment to cinema, and the worst thing is, it's not even the worst Jaws movie. What the hell is this dystopian nightmare? 134, Shark Tale. Sorry, Schroefullis, this ain't ironically funny, it's bad. Animation, characters, story, morals, bad! 133, Greed, a Steve Coogan comedy that isn't remotely funny. I swear I nodded off about twice, and in the last 5 minutes they pull out a political message out their arse about sweatshops. You don't do that, movies. 132, Deck the Halls, a Christmas film, and it's some of the worst, lowbrow, corporate schlock I've ever seen, and as time goes on, it gets worse for me. 131, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. When you look at this film, you know to treat it as silly, switch your brain off fun. With that said, I still hated it thanks to appalling filmmaking, weak acting, and it's just a bore. 130, the 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A character in this film literally says to Leatherface, and I quote, "Try anything, you'll get cancelled, bro." This is the state of movies now. 129, Big Trouble in Little China, a John Carpenter classic. I have a few questions. One, what the hell is this weird-ass film? And two, why do people like it so much? It's terrible. 128, The Lorax, an absolute travesty of a film that completely misses the point of the book, but to the point where it's comical. It is so fun to meme this film, it's hilarious. 127, Free Birds, the movie where they go back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu. And I'm not quite sure if this film's real or a weird fever dream I had in November thanks to all the school presentations I was doing, but here we are. 126, Child's Play 3, not the worst Chucky film, but for a franchise about a killer doll, it's really boring, aside from the odd set piece and character here and there. 125, Eternals, an absolute slug of a film with terrible characters and poor action. It's just a really weak Marvel film. Let's put it this way, I'm glad I didn't go to the cinema for this one. 124, Star Wars Attack of the Clones, a bad CGI, bad dialogue, bad romance, not the best mystery plot that's ever been concocted. It's easily the weak point of pre-Disney Star Wars, and let's just say if it wasn't for nostalgia and a couple cool action scenes near the end and some cool characters like Count Dooku, it'd be a lot lower. 123, the recent Fantastic Beasts film from this year, The Secrets of Dumbledore. It's competently made, I suppose, but it's such a lifeless, dull film that I felt absolutely nothing towards, and did not redeem this, let's face it, ailing franchise. 122, Don't Look Up. This is not Best Picture nomination material at all. What were the Academy thinking? But it's also not absolutely god-awful like I know some people think. It is just nothing special. It's not nearly as clever or subversive or as deep as it thinks it is. It's just preachy more than anything. 121, Sleepy Hollow, a Tim Burton film. And I do like Tim Burton, but this just wasn't my thing. I found it a bit dull and just wasn't my cup of tea. 120, Thunderball, still one of the weakest Bond films for me. It's just a slog to get through. I've always found it really dull, but, you know, it does look nice. Great cinematography, great locations, and, you know, Connery's cool, Fiona's great. It's not awful. 119, Legally Blonde, a film that just isn't for me. I didn't really care for this film. It's alright, I suppose. It's just, again, it's not my cup of tea. 118, the Baz Luhrmann, Leo DiCaprio, Romeo and Juliet from the 90s. Now, a modern take on a Shakespearean story is a cool idea, but the way that they do it in this film, there is absolutely no self-awareness. It's so dramatic and over-the-top and corny that it is hysterically bad and it's hilarious. 117, Star Wars The Clone Wars, the film. It was basically the first 2 episodes of the show put as a film because George Lucas wanted a film for the sake of it, and from the animation and the plotting, it shows it's not meant for the big screen, George. 116, Highlander, a cult 80s film. I know it's a bit of a cult classic, but it was too weird and obtuse for my liking. Even Sean Connery there couldn't save it. 115, Thor Love and Thunder, another recent Marvel project that just didn't work at all. It was ruined by too much comedy, undercut all the dramatic weight and tension and stakes. To really ruin the film. But a great villain though. 114, Tenet. Didn't really like this film that much. Christopher Nolan's weakest film for me. Didn't make a lot of sense, but that's not what bothered me. What bothered me, it lacked heart and soul. The main character's literally called protagonist. I mean, 113, Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. I watched this one just randomly on a whim this year. It's fine. It's got creative animation, some good gags here and there. It's fine. 112, The French Dispatch, a Wes Anderson film from last year. I don't get this film. Like, technically it's very well made, but I just don't get what the film was going for. It's very alien for me. 111, Death Proof, the weakest Tarantino film for my money. It's a weird hodgepodge of different ideas and styles that just don't form together to create a cohesive experience. It was really bizarre. 110, The Producers, a comedy classic for many, I know, but I just didn't click this one. I found it very meandering, a bit dull around a lot of places, but there is a 20-minute section. It's when they put on the show. There's like a 20-minute section of the film which is absolutely hysterical, and the film is worth watching just for that 20-minute sequence alone. 109, Meet the Parents, a perfectly fine, serviceable comedy, elevated, I think, by Robert De Niro's presence. He's great, but overall, I've just not thought about this film at all since I watched it back in May. It's just kind of slipped off the back of my mind. 108, With Nell and I. Admittedly, the circumstances in which I watched this film weren't ideal. I didn't expect the film to be this quaint, but it was cool seeing Paul McGann and Richard E. Grant, I suppose. 107, Monster House, a decent enough kids film for like the Halloween season. It's kind of creative in parts, but the animation ain't great, and it's a bit kind of standard for like kids films and whatnot. 106, Abominable, a decent enough film, like gorgeous animation and some really nice sort of stuff. Like, I really liked it at the start, like kind of the slice of life stuff at the beginning of the film. I really enjoyed it, but then as the film went on, it got a bit sort of wishy-washy and a bit sort of, certain plot points were kind of a bit generic and a bit vague, and it kind of did get a bit wishy-washy towards the end, but it's a good time. 105, The Adam Project, a perfectly serviceable sci-fi action film with Ryan Reynolds, and you know what, I don't even mean that as a bad thing. I did have a good time with this film, but it's not fine art, but it was a good time killer. I did really enjoy myself with this film. 104, Star Wars The Phantom Menace. Right, this is flawed beyond belief, this film, but one, I really enjoy it, but two, certain things like some of the characters, the world building, the music, the action, the film has got genuine merit. 103, A View to a Kill, Roger Moore's last Bond film, and I never know what to make of this one. It's so weird. Some things, like the villains and the music, are brilliant. Other things, like the action and the Bond girls, are really bad. But it's a Roger Moore film at the end of the day, so I do enjoy it naturally. 102, Top Gun. I already did a video review of this. Overall, mediocre first half, brilliant second half. 101, Pan's Labyrinth. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of stick for this one, but I do find it overrated. I really do. I've rewatched it. I've had to study it, and I do like it more, and there are some brilliant things here, like the direction, the visuals, the creatures, some of the characters, but the villain is one of the most poorly written, pitiful excuses for a character I've ever seen in a film. Cracking the top 100 now, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Some brilliant things here. Sam Raimi's direction, the horror, Doctor Strange's character, but the script is so messy and it really drags the film down. Number 99, The Polar Express. A really weird film, like really poor animation on the humans and some really annoying characters as well, but there's a real kind of fun energy and creativity to it. Then no, I found it quite endearing. I actually kind of enjoyed myself and I was surprised at that. Number 98, Diamonds Are Forever, Sean Connery's last official Bond film. Look, it's cheesy, it's campy, it's schlocky, it's 70s trashiness, Blofeld's in drag for some reason, and I love it. Number 97, Bonnie and Clyde, a revolutionary film that changed cinema, defined modern Hollywood as a film in its own merits. In my opinion, it's a perfectly fine crime film and nothing more. Number 96, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, a decent kids film. It's better than the original in my opinion. It feels more like a Sonic film with all the returning characters. It's a good time. Number 95, Blazing Saddles, a comedy that would not get made today, but it is a classic and it is quite funny and clever and just bonkers. Number 94, Labyrinth, the old Jim Henson film. It's very imaginative with the creature design and the puppeteering and the sets and the worlds. It's really vivid and imaginative, and David Bowie's in it. I mean, that's awesome. Number 93, Grease. It's not perfect, it's a bit dated, but I can see why it's a classic, and the songs, they slap. And I was in a production of it, so of course I'm biased. Number 92, School of Rock. This is a really good time of a film. Like, Jack Black puts a lot into his performance. It's very energised. It's really fun. Number 91, the original Toy Story. A very simple film, whether it's the very simplistic animation, the simple plotting. It's not as rich as future Pixar films, in my opinion, so it's quite simple. But I think it's more of a testament to how far Pixar have come in the nearly 30 years since this was made. Jesus Christ, nearly 30 years. 90, Jackie Brown, a decent crime thriller from Tarantino, but whilst not his weakest film, it's the one that plays it the safest, and that's kind of disappointing in a way, because I love Tarantino for his experimentation, and he tries to do new things. In this one, he could have gone a lot further, in my opinion. Number 89, the Alan Partridge film, Alpha Papa. We stand Michael, the Geordie supremacy. Number 88, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I was not anticipating the lack of gravity when it came to the action sequences, but no, it is a good Eastern martial arts film, good characters and good relationships and dynamics, and a good strong story, and some really good action, but because I was very unfamiliar with this type of filmmaking, it did throw me off, so maybe I need to give it a revisit and, it might get better. Number 87, Cars 3. I've put this above Toy Story. You can't stop me. But, no, I really like this one. It's really grown on me as the years going on, and I really appreciate how it closes off the Cars trilogy, and I really like it. I prefer it above Cars 2 now. Number 86, RoboCop. Pure 80s cheesy fun, hokey visuals and all, and I love it. Number 85, this is Spinal Tap, the cult classic, like mockumentary kind of thing on the fictional rock band. It's very clever, but I should say that I'm not a massive music person anyway, so if you are a big music fan, you'd probably get more out of this than I did, but it was still great. Number 84, For Your Eyes Only. My opinion of this film has always kind of stuck the same. It's a solid Bond film with an excellent lead performance from Roger Moore, but some story issues and a general lack of flair do hold it back for me, and an all-time great for me. Number 83, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Not as good as a lot of people say it is in my opinion, but it's still a very well made, very charming animated film. Number 82, Gladiator. 2.5-hour historical epics usually aren't my thing, but this one, thanks to Ridley Scott's direction, the phenomenal cast, the music, the general scope of it, it's really quite something. Number 81, Chicken Run. Number 80, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. A brilliant product from Marvel Phase 4, one of the best. And that's the ironic thing. It doesn't feel like a product, it doesn't feel like content. It feels very genuine and a really great tribute to Chadwick Boseman, and acts as a great sequel, building on the world and the characters, in my opinion, very well. Number 79, The World Is Not Enough. I did not give this film nearly enough credit. It's got flaws, I mean, Christmas Jones, but overall, it's very interesting, intriguing, engaging, very exhilarating, great mystery, very good personal stakes and emotional, stuff. It's really quite strong Bond film and very underrated. Number 78, a modern kind of horror comedy, Ready or Not. It works very well as both a satire of the rich, but also fun, killing and stabbing and gore and all that jazz that we like in horror movies. Number 77, The Italian Job, an absolute classic. It is so charming and so quotable. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off! Number 76, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, the head and shoulders best of the prequels. It's awesome, it's memorable, and it's also got actual emotional stakes. Well done, Lucas. Number 75, Casino Royale. Still, for me, not the best Bond film. I do not get that sentiment at all for me personally, but it's still very strong, very well done. Well, it's very well made in filmmaking-wise. Great acting across the board for the most part. And aside from some story issues, it's a really strong Bond film. 74, quite an underrated film here, 5 Easy Pieces. I've already talked about this one in a video before, but it's very underrated, a great character piece with an excellent early performance from Jack Nicholson. Number 73, Shaun the Sheep movie. You ever heard the term less is more? This is the dictionary definition of that, and the animation is amazing. Number 72, North by Northwest, a classic Hitchcock spy thriller. It's really good, quite light-hearted for him, and some fantastic set pieces that are really well crafted, but I don't find it as interesting as some of his other films. It's not as kind of weird and kind of psychological and weird. So that's why it's a little bit lower down, I think, but it's still great. Number 71, A Fish Called Wanda. It's hilarious. It really just is. Number 70, Megamind, a really clever subversion of the kind of superhero, typical superhero story, all done in a great animated film that's just really enjoyable, really funny. Number 69, Finding Nemo, the weeks to the 2000s Pixar films. It's still a certified banger. Number 68, Goldfinger. A bit like Casino Royale, it's not the best Bond film, even though it's probably the most iconic, but it's still fantastic. It's so much fun. It's very classy, very elegant, and just really well put together, and just a great energy that is carried on throughout the franchise's history. Number 67, Paranorman. Again, another really cool genre parody like Megamind, but this case of the zombie apocalypse story, great subversions and whatnot, and also a brilliant stop-motion animation. Number 66, Her, a great sci-fi romance film with amazing acting and visuals that kind of loses its way in the final act. Number 65, Hellraiser, a really fascinating horror film. It's very interesting with its themes of pain and pleasure, very interesting characters like Pinhead and the Cenobites, very interesting, and it's very thematically rich and artsy, and especially for this time, very unique for a horror film. Number 64, Rare Exports, a dark, festive tale from Finland, which is very underrated. It's fantastically made, it's got great atmosphere, great characters, great drama. It's a really effective little film. Number 63, Captain Fantastic, a film that I'd not heard about until quite recently, and it really surprised me. It was really quite heartwarming, and in a way, it's a cozy film to watch. I don't know, it was very heartwarming. Number 62, The Terminator. I'm not going to do the accent. It's very 80s, but it's a classic. It's awesome. Number 61, Joker. Great acting, great visuals, great music, very interesting themes and ideas for a superhero film. It's It's quite an interesting film and I really liked it. Number 60, Planes, Trains and Automobiles. It's not the best John Hughes film, but it's one of the best. It's so magical and fun. Steve Martin and John Candy are excellent together. It's just a very heartwarming film. Number 59, La La Land, a great modern movie musical from Damien Chazelle. Excellent acting, brilliant use of colour, the direction's great, the music's awesome, very interesting ideas and messages. It's just really an excellent film. I really want to rewatch it, actually. Number 58, Taxi Driver. Okay, this is a classic from Scorsese. Amazing acting, amazing colour, amazing music, amazing direction, and it's got a phenomenal first and third act. But the middle, I don't know what it is, but there's something missing, I think. Number 57, Rocky, my dad's favourite movie. I understand why. Number 56, Tick, Tick, Boom. This film really impressed me. The emotional stuff hits like a ton of bricks. And Andrew Garfield can sing. Number 55, Little Shop of Horrors. Some of the most fun I've had watching a film this year. You know, it's a great movie musical adaptation. The songs, the puppeteering, the sets, the acting. It's all just so charming and you love it. Number 54, Star Wars. It's Star Wars! With a few pacing issues here and there. Number 53, Thor Ragnarok. The recent MCU stuff has actually been making me wonder, was the MCU any good in the first place? And this one proves, yeah, it was. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's visually stunning, all that jazz. Number 52, You Only Live Twice. Sean Connery's weak performance aside, this film is a certified banger. Boatloads of fun. Number 51, Live and Let Die. A fantastic debut for Roger Moore's Bond. A great mystery, it's exciting, it's interesting, it's just the whole shebang. Number 50, this might seem a bit low, The Silence of the Lambs. Now, I can't objectively fault this. It's got some of the best acting and cleverest writing that I've ever seen in a film. But there's just something about it that I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I need to rewatch it, but something just didn't quite click and I don't know what it is. Number 49, Tomorrow Never Dies, a fantastic Pierce Brosnan Bond film. I love this film so much. It's so fun and energised with the music and the action and the characters, but it's also quite timely with what it has to say and, you know, the plot with the Ellie Carver and whatnot. It's really, really well done. Number 48, Paddington. If you don't like this film, who hurt you? Number 47, When Harry Met Sally. Usually I'm not a kind of big rom-com kind of guy, but first of all, the comedy is hysterical in this. It's absolutely hilarious. Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal are amazing. And second, the way it deconstructs kind of relationships and whatnot, it's quite interesting and just really good. Number 46, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It slaps, it's amazing. And it's not even the best indie film. Number 45, Last Night in Soho, Edgar Wright's recent film, and I love this film. I really thought it was fantastic and a breath of fresh air from him. It's something so unique and a lot darker from him, but it's done in a way that only Edgar Wright could do. Number 44, Casablanca. There is something magical about watching this film. I don't know what it is, but it's just pure, quintessential American cinema, and it's just a glorious film to watch. Number 43, Inception. Absolutely fantastic film from Christopher Nolan. It's just so weird and wacky, but brilliant. And it's a modern classic for a reason. Number 42, Blade Runner. One of the weirdest, but most interesting and intriguing and thought-provoking films I've ever seen. It's so weird and just really plays on your mind. And also it's on a sensory level from the visuals and the music and whatnot. It's brilliant and so many iconic sequences as well. Number 41, Octopussy, a film that does not deserve the hate that it gets at all. It is fantastic, it's entertaining, it's well made, it's clever, it's timely, but above all, it's so much fun. Number 40, Some Like It Hot, one of the great American comedies with some also really interesting themes like sexuality and gender thrown into the mix there, and the fact that for me this is Billy Wilder's weakest film that I've seen so far speaks volumes. It's just such a joy to watch, this film is really. Number 39, the old Buster Keaton silent movie, Steamboat Bill Jr. The first silent movie that I ever watched. If you want to get into silent films, this is very good. It's very simple, very accessible, but some fantastic stunt work and just, it's bloody hilarious. Number 38, Stalag 17, another Billy Wilder film. You see a pattern here? Great dark humour, amazing performances, and a great mystery to keep the audience engaged, and it really elevates the film to new heights in my opinion. Number 37, Knives Out, a fantastic modern take on a classic whodunit. It's quite simple, but it's clever, it's unique, it's subversive, and delivered with such energy and vibrancy and fun by a fantastic ensemble, whether it's Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, Jamie Lee Curtis, Christopher Plummer, the list goes on. Number 36, the oldest film on this list, Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans, another silent film, and it's very interesting, some very interesting themes and great filmmaking for the time, but whilst not being as laugh-out-loud hilarious as like Steamboat Bill, it's still a joy to watch. I'd highly recommend it. Number 35, City of God, a brilliant film that's straight out of Brazil. It's not an easy watch, it's bloody grim, it really is, but it's well worth it, it's fantastic. Number 34, Cars, aka my childhood. It's amazing. Stop sleeping on it, you idiots. Number 33, Vertigo, my favourite Alfred Hitchcock film that I've seen. It's like the best of these films, like the ones that play on your mind and kind of linger in the back of your mind. You're thinking about them constantly. It's so interesting, and the way it's made and performed, and just it's revolutionary in terms of like filmmaking, and it's just fantastic, and it's so. I love this film, it's great. Number 32, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, a film that for me gets better and better the older that I get. It's a very mature script, it's very rich with themes and a great emotional core, and some really interesting filmmaking. It's very avant-garde for the time as well, but it's still great to watch, and I love it. And honestly, the weaknesses don't bother me as much now. Number 31, From Russia With Love, my favourite of the Sean Connery Bond films. This is the closest that we've ever gotten to Ian Fleming's James Bond 007 onto the screen. This is Ian Fleming's Bond right here, and it's glorious. And the train sequences, they slap. Number 30 now, Kiki's Delivery Service, the only Ghibli film on the list, and if you've never seen a Studio Ghibli film, I'd recommend starting this on. It's beautiful in terms of the animation, it's endearing, it's funny, it's charming, it's very relatable as well with its messages, and it's really accessible for, new audiences. Number 29, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The best Sean Connery movie, the best indie movie, and the ultimate dad movie. What would you want? Number 28, The Apartment, another Billy Wilder classic. It's a brilliant, perfect blend of comedy and hard-hitting drama. It deserved its Best Picture win back in the day. Number 27, this year's The Batman. In terms of, the Batman films, there are better films, but if we're talking about an adaptation of the Batman character, this is probably the best we've ever seen, in my opinion. Number 26, Top Gun Maverick. I cannot explain how much joy this brought when I watched it in the cinema. It was such a good time, and it just made it a highlight of that month. It's just a stunning achievement. It's an absolute blast. I recommend it to anyone. Number 25, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the perfect sequel. Number 24, Coraline. Weird, bloody creepy. That opening scene disturbs me, but it's fantastic, it's weird and wonderful, and amazing stop-motion animation. Number 23, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. A classic. It's a really hard-hitting, powerful film with, Jack Nicholson and Louise Fletcher's lead performances. Basically, they deserve their Oscars for the best actors. It is incredible. Number 22, Ace in the Hole, another Billy Wilder film, and personally, of what I've seen of his, my favourite. It is such a powerful film. It's such an angry film, but he's still got that humour that Billy Wilder does so well. It's just, I had to sit with this film for a good 5 minutes after it ended. It was that powerful. Number 21, American Psycho. I've watched this one twice this year, actually, and this is such a... it's really funny in a very dark way, but it's also got this really sinister undertone, and that's a perfect satire of the 80s. It just works perfectly. Number 20 now, Life of Brian, the Monty Python film. Still my favourite of theirs. It's got a great story, and it's also got some interesting things to say, but it is absolutely hysterical. I was in stitches watching this film. I can quote it all day long. Number 19, an incredibly underrated film here, Arthur Christmas. I've talked about this before, but it's a brilliant film, the ultimate Christmas film, I would argue, and just it has a sense of magic that very few films have, in my opinion. Number 18, The Prestige, the first Christopher Nolan film that I actually watched the very beginning of the year, and what a way to start out. You've got a brilliant story and fantastic lead characters that you really get invested in, brilliant twists that are so well done, and the framework of it being about magic and whatnot. It's just so brilliant and unique for Nolan, and it's just brilliant. Number 17, Inglourious Bastards, the incredible Tarantino war epic that it's edge on your seat tension this film delivers, and the villain is absolutely terrifying. The scenes actually make me jump. That is that good. Number 16, Trainspotting. Clever, funny, and Spud is a national treasure. For Scotland, that is. Number 15, Up. It's Up. Everybody cries at it, everybody is exhilarated by it, everybody loves it, including this guy. Okay, now we get on to the masterpieces here. Number 14, The Dark Knight. Some films have a reputation for a reason. The Dark Knight is one of those films. Number 13, Coco. Pixar's crowning achievement this past decade. In my opinion, their best looking animation, a beautiful story, fantastic twists, and one of the most emotional endings in film history. Speaking of emotional endings, number 12, It's a Wonderful Life, a Christmas classic that has held the test of time and everyone knows it. Number 11, Ratatouille, one of the most uplifting, powerful, just beautifully rich films out there, let alone animated films, just film in general. It is phenomenal. Well done, Brad Bird. Cracking the top 10 now with Goodfellas, the monolithic mobster epic by Scorsese, and it is just fantastic. It's so rich with detail and intrigue, some of the best filmmaking that you can find, but it's also a joy to watch. It's it's not a slog at all, despite the length. Okay, a bit of a double bill here. Number 9, The Empire Strikes Back, and number 8, Return of the Jedi. I thought I'd talk about these as one, because for me, I mean, obviously they're both Star Wars, but also they're both practically neck and neck in terms of quality. I mean, this is the peak of Star Wars for me. It always has been since I was a kid. These were the ones I always loved, and I always will. They are phenomenal. Number 7, Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino's debut film, and what a film to kick off with, in my opinion, his best work. It's an absolutely incredible independent film, one of the best independent films out there. Every emotion under the sun you feel in this film. It is just remarkable. Number 6, Interstellar, Christopher Nolan's best film for me. Just an absolutely awe-inspiring, beautiful film. And I'm going to say it is the best looking film that I've ever seen. Number 5, Everything Everywhere All at Once. For me, the best film that I saw from this year, 2022. Just an absolute marvel of film. Never mind just the phenomenal acting, creative story, the creativity involved, the fantastic filmmaking, but just how transcendent it is. It strikes a chord within you, and it is just beautiful. Number 4, which I think is the same number 4 from last year as well, The Spy Who Loved Me. Always been my favourite Bond film. It is just the ultimate kind of comfort viewing for me. It does not put a wrong foot in. It is just the epitome of just great entertainment. Number 3, John Carpenter's The Thing, an absolute masterclass in horror and paranoia, and just one of the greatest horror movies ever. It's bloody terrifying even now, in no small part thanks to the music, the practical effects, the gore, the performances, the overall atmosphere. It's such a creepy film, but also very thought-provoking, and stays with you long after you've seen it. It's still stuck in me even now. Number 2, Shaun of the Dead. There is jack all that I can say about this film. Go watch a different video that I've done if you want to hear anything about Shaun of the Dead. But coming in at number 1 as the best film that I saw this year, and one of my new favourite films ever, it's a 2014 film by Damien Chazelle, Whiplash. Just an inspired film. Well, I mean, whether that's the direction, the cinematography, the incredible music that I'm constantly re-listening to, the stellar performances from Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons, especially that of J.K. Simmons, I mean, incredible. The intensity that it gets, it's powerful for you, the audience. You feel like just as scared as the characters do. The humour is great. The overall messaging and the philosophy and the questions that it poses to you as a viewer, and it doesn't provide a simple answer. You have to think about that. And this film has stayed in my mind for years after it's still stuck with me. And I don't think I'll ever find a concrete answer to these questions the film poses. And that's the magic of it. Right, that's the end of the video. I need to cut it now. Bye!